To our listeners, thank you for being here for our weekly podcast series, The Class Action Weekly Wire. I'm Jerry Maatman, a partner at Duane Morris, and I'm pleased to be joined today for the first time on our podcast show. My partner, John Polzer, who is also co-chair of the Duane Morris Healthcare Litigation Division of our trial practice group. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Jerry. I'm happy to be here.
Today on the podcast, we'll be discussing the publication of a brand new desk reference, the Duane Morris Healthcare Class Action Review. Listeners can find the ebook publication on our blog, the Duane Morris Class Action Defense blog. John, can you tell our listeners a bit about the publication?
Absolutely, Jerry. I'm a huge fan of all these iterations within our class action review. I think they're very helpful. Duane Morris released the third in a series of industry-focused class action publications, the Healthcare Class Action Review for 2026. This publication was really about making sense of a rapidly expanding area of litigation, one that myself and my colleagues at Duane Morris live in every day. We wanted to provide a clear picture of where cases are being filed, the legal theories the plaintiffs are using, and how courts are responding. It's really meant to help companies understand not just the risks, but also how to proactively manage them. I can tell you, Jerry, in-house lawyers at my clients use this resource in their day-to-day duties to make sure that they're doing their best to align with the constantly changing and current trajectory of risk and class actions.
Well, certainly class action litigation is on the rise in general across many industries, but especially so in the healthcare sector. What's significant to you in this particular space?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Jerry. Two things stick out to me. I think first, just the sheer diversity of claims. We're seeing cases tied to data breaches, billing practices, ERISA fiduciary duties, and even AI-driven decision tools. And I think second, Jerry, it's the increasing sophistication of plaintiff attorneys as they get more strategic, often combining multiple legal theories into a single class action.
That's very interesting feedback in this space. Let's talk about some trends. What are you seeing as the biggest healthcare class action trends in your day-to-day practice?
Yeah, I think there's a few key ones. I think data privacy, which won't surprise anyone, is still front and center. Breaches of unauthorized data sharing continue to drive class action litigation. There's also a rise in claims related to pricing transparency and surprise billing, especially as the regulations evolve through the NSA. We're also seeing more ERISA-related lawsuits targeting health plan fiduciaries, particularly around excessive fees or mismanagement of plan assets. Another emerging area that we're seeing is algorithmic bias. And that's a mouthful, but those are cases alleging that healthcare algorithms produce discriminatory outcomes. So we're seeing cases starting to be filed along those lines as well.
Well, I'm defending class actions coast to coast at any one time in about 40 to 42 states, and my practice mirrors your articulation of what's new, what's hot, what the plaintiff's bar is looking at. How would you measure the degree of seriousness and the battening down the hatches, so to speak, in terms of compliance in the healthcare space to counteract this trend towards big class actions against the industry?
Well, Jerry, I think some are out in front of it, but not all. And I think that's a risk, especially in the healthcare space. So if you're not paying attention to what's happening in this risk area, you need to be. As healthcare providers and insurers, increasingly rely on these predictive tools, plaintiffs are starting to question how these tools are designed and whether they create inequities. So I expect this to become an even bigger issue moving forward.
In terms of looking ahead and providing prognostications for the remainder of 2026, what do you think companies in the healthcare industry should be focused on in terms of reducing the risks of class actions?
Well, I think, Jerry, if you talk to some of my clients, we could be here all day with that question. But I think I can probably break it down to three major developments. First, continued growth and privacy-related class actions, especially as more states pass their own data protection laws. I think second, more regulatory driven litigation. There's new rules, new laws out there particularly around transparency and patient rights, that I think we'll see plaintiffs now using as a basis for these class claims. And I think third and finally, for what to expect in 2026, Jerry, an increased scrutiny of digital health and AI. Companies are already operating in telehealth and have been for some time, but we're seeing progression into things like wearable tech or AI diagnostics that should now expect a closer examination, both from regulators, and from the plaintiff's bar.
I think as the sun comes up in the east and sets in the west, in essence, the risk landscape is expanding and certainly not shrinking in the healthcare industry.
Yeah, I think Jerry, that's exactly right. And it's not just about reacting when that lawsuit drops on your doorstep or in your inbox. It's also about prevention. I think companies need to invest in compliance and data governance and documentation now, because those are the things that will determine how well they can defend against a class action later. In a way, Jerry, when we're talking about healthcare, this is like a little bit like preventative maintenance that you would get from your provider.
That's a great analogy. If you had to give one piece of advice to your clients in the healthcare sector heading into the remainder of 2026, what would you focus on?
Yeah, I'd say just don't treat legal risk as an afterthought. Like we talked about before, don't wait till the class action lawsuit hits. Integrate it into your business strategy. That means involving your legal teams early when adopting new technologies, reviewing policies regularly, and then stress testing those practices against potential class action theories to know that you're on the right path for what you're doing internally.
Those are great insights. And we know from the data analytics that we collect on a daily basis in the class action world that settlements in the healthcare sector are growing, more lawsuits are being filed. And my suspicion is at the end of 2026, we're going to see a definite uptick in the amount of class action litigation brought in the healthcare sector. Well, John, thanks for breaking down these issues on our podcast today. It's certainly clear this is an area of concern and something that healthcare providers cannot ignore. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. We'll be back next time with more insights on emerging legal and business trends.
Thanks, Jerry. I was happy to be here. And listeners, don't forget to check out this amazing resource and stop by the blog for a free copy of our healthcare class action review ebook.